coming up on this episode of Slot Talk.
You said there are 3 bonus features. I only saw 2 at G2E. Like, it was the progressive one, and then there was the free spins one.
Yep.
So was there something else that you guys didn't show us? And can you talk about that?
Else that you have not yet seen.
And you can. And you can or can't talk about it.
Can I talk about this? I believe I can talk about it.
Okay, good.
Slot Talk number 7 is here, and we have an awesome show for you. I'm your host, DProxima, and as always, I'm joined by my fabulous co-host, the lover of all slots, Wizard of Oz, Brent Wolgamott. Brent, welcome to Slot Talk number 7.
Yes, we're here. We're queer. Get used to it. I think it's actually apropos that we're taping this on the day that the U.S. Supreme Court heard arguments as far as same-sex marriage goes. Yes. Dan, it's been a long time. I just want to ask this. Will you be my co-host?
Oh, I'd love to be, yes.
Okay,
but I think we have to wait until the end of June to decide if I truly can be your co-host.
That's true. That's true.
It's all resting on the hands of Mr. Kennedy, I read today.
Very good. You know your Supreme Court justices. Very good.
All right, enough of this chit-chat. You know what? We filmed probably one of our most exciting conversations ever on the history of Slot Talk.
Yes.
We had a gentleman by the name of Jeremy on our show, and we're going to get to him in just a couple of minutes. He is a game designer who has solely, as far as I know, solely worked on the WMS brand. And he pretty much spilled his guts about everything that he's worked on and his favorite games. And he teased us about a couple upcoming games that are not out yet. It's a really fun conversation. And I think you'll really like Jeremy. He was a lot of fun to talk with.
He was. You could tell he really enjoys slots, and you can tell that he has watched Slot Talk.
Yes, he's watched our show, and he watches all a bunch of different YouTube channels.
Hard to believe. It's a small world, Dan.
What do you say? We dive right in?
Sounds good.
All right, let's watch the interview. Well, it's an absolute pleasure for me to introduce to you Jeremy Hornik from Scientific Games. Jeremy's been with the WMS brand of Scientific Games for 13 years now, and we're extremely thrilled to have him on our show. Jeremy, welcome to Slot Talk.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be on the show. This is we are big fans of the show here. We always watch the show together. It's good times.
That's excellent. Glad to hear that we're reaching out. So, Jeremy, tell us a little bit about your history there at Scientific Games, and tell us a little bit about your role as a game designer.
Sure. Well, I can start by just saying I've been here since 2002. It's been a very exciting ride. I've been I like to say that I started as a designer of slot machines, and 13 years later, I'm a designer of slot machines, moving up in the world. It's a really exciting and challenging job because so much of what players enjoy about slot machines is sort of things that they're not able to talk about. It's not things that are happening consciously to them. They're enjoying them subconsciously as much. So the thing that picks out a hit game from a game that just goes out there and does not do anything, it's always been a big challenge for me and very exciting. Over the time here, I started out as somebody who wasn't a player of slot machines, and over the time I've really become one. It's a fun activity, and it's important as a designer to get to learn the field, to know as much as you possibly can. So I guess what I do as a designer is I design the games. I don't do the hardware of the machines, so someone else comes up with the cool-looking cabinets and the big screens and the giant wheels and all that stuff. It's my job to come up with a game that fits the theme, or to come up with a cool theme that will attract new players, and to try and keep it as exciting and cool as possible. So I joke that designers don't actually know how to do anything. We have mathematicians to do the math. We have programmers to do the programming. We have artists to do all the drawing and animation. We have sound designers. So my job really is to be the designated player.
Okay.
I'm the player. I sort of try and imagine how I think the game should be and how the game should play, and then I draw my awkward little sketches and my flow charts and my terrible Excel sheets, and I try and help the team build this thing. And then once it's in place, then it's my job to play it and throw my ego aside for a while and say, okay, now that we've built this thing, is it any good, or do we need to make it better? So that's fundamentally my job. From day to day, it can be anything. Today I spent a day deep in Excel trying to work out the math for a new game. Very exciting, a movie license, can't talk about it.
Wait, breaking news here.
We will be doing a movie license. I know, shocking.
Okay, fine.
Shocking.
I know, right? Crazy.
And then other days I may be in meetings with artists and looking at new art. I may be playing the game on the machine. There are some days, you know, I'll just spend 4 or 5 hours at a stretch playing one game and feeling how it goes. And then there's days where we get out. We go out to the field, we go out to casinos, we watch people and see what they're playing. We look around and see what's new. We try and meet with the staff there and see what's popular and basically get a good feel for what's going on in the market.
It sounds like you do what all of us would love to do for a job.
It is a great job.
You're a lucky
Right.
man.
I was actually going to ask you, Jeremy, how much you love. You know, people always ask me. I'm a dealer at a casino, and people always say that must be a great job. You know, I'm sure you love that job. And of course, you know, there are good things and bad things that come with any job. But I'm sure that you really love being a game designer at a place like Scientific Games, and specifically the WMS brand.
It's a great place to be a designer because there is a real focus on trying to do innovative games, trying to do games that are different. We like to believe that our games have some of the most unique and different math features, as well as having some of the most beautiful polished art and sound of any of the games in the field.
Yes.
I think that, you know, we don't. I don't think we're. I don't think we can't see that other people do really great stuff as well, because there are other companies that do fantastic games and really cool stuff and stuff that sort of is not in our DNA to do, but we know what we do well and we work hard to do it on every game so that they're all exciting and fun to play.
I think we certainly recognize that, right, Brent?
Right. I am, you know, everybody who watches my channel on YouTube knows I am a huge fan of WMS brand in general. You know, I just there's something about it that makes me feel very at home when I'm playing. I can't really describe it. I think it's all the licensed games that I play. I play a lot of Monopoly. I play a lot of Wizard of Oz, and I just feel very, like I said, I feel very at home when I'm playing those games. I feel like I'm a kid in a candy store, you know.
Let's list a couple of the games that Jeremy has worked on. And
let's list all of them.
Well, yeah, I'll go down the list here. All right, so we've got the original Wonka, the 5-reel video version, Pure Imagination, the Money Bursts, so you're a whole bunch of Money Burst games, Ruby Slippers,
Yay!
one of your absolute favorites, Brent, Goldfish, the original and the 5-reel mechanical, Lucky Penny, Monopoly Grand Hotel, Baron von Bacon. Everybody, I've played that so much, oh my goodness. Winning Bid 2, and
yay!
Perhaps the game that we're most infatuated with, Brent, is Super Team. We
Team.
have the man that is
Yay!
responsible for Super Team, which no longer exists, unfortunately.
Well, go ahead and get it out of your DNA.
Let's talk about Super Team.
Let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Tell us about the invention of Super Team and what your role in Super Team was.
Sure. Well, Super Team was a bit of a spin-off of an older game that I also did called Lucky Penny. And in this game, there were penguins that came out, and they could come out before the spin or during the spin or after the spin and give you multipliers and added wilds and bonuses and all kinds of cool stuff all the time. And the game performed very well, and we said, you know, how can we do this again? What can we do that's something that's interesting? Yeah. And one thing we noticed with the penguin game is that people, you know, penguins are all sort of alike, so you didn't necessarily anticipate what you were going to get out of any given penguin. And we were hoping to give players a way to identify, you know, this is going to be some wilds, this is going to be this. So we thought, oh, I came up with, well, superheroes. They have superpowers. They could help your slots in a superpowered way. Plus, they're real graphic and identifiable. So we had these heroes, and it was very exciting. We designed our heroes. We came up with some cool math features, and we have a lot of drawings. There's probably about 45 different drawings that didn't end up making the cut. There's one guy who just has a giant magnet on his head. He's like a little superhero with a magnet for a head. Like, he looks really weird.
That's great.
So we did that, and it got people so excited for it when they looked at it here that we added on this whole player's life thing, this idea that people could actually build their own superheroes. And as you played along, you could get more masks and gloves and cool things decorated. And then they would actually be in some of the bonuses. You'd see them fight the bad guy, and you'd see them fly through the tunnel and all that cool stuff. So we put all that together, and it was a huge project to develop. It involved a ton of engineers and a lot of artists. And balanced the math, reworked the math. We switched it out for Lucky Penny a little bit, in that the superheroes don't come around quite as often as the Penguins, but they usually pay a whole bunch more.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
More likely to come in groups than the Penguins were.
Yep.
So after all this work and all kinds of behind-the-scenes technical stuff, which is of no interest to anyone, especially me, we finally got the game finished, and it came out at a time when, unfortunately, casinos were really tightening back on the amount of the bigger, fancier games that they were accepting, what we call participation games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it only ended up going out in small numbers. I think it had a really rabid fan group. Like, the people who like it really liked it, but it didn't end up making enough money to keep its floor space. And that's, that's the risk with these things. You go in swinging for the fences, and sometimes you strike out.
Well, I can tell you from my point of view that it's the one game on my list that I look back and say, why didn't I play more of that game? Because I saw it. You walk into a casino. I remember walking into the Wynn or the Encore, and I saw Super Team, and I was so infatuated with Ruby Slippers at the time that I wanted to go play that instead. I thought, I'll play this. These games will always be here.
Right.
And then the next time I came back, and it wasn't there, and I'm like, of course, you can always find Ruby Slippers somewhere, generally speaking, and Super Team. After I watched the videos of it and I saw the amazing wins that some of my friends had, including SD Guy and Dan, I just thought, wow, that looks like such a fun game. The music, more than anything, is the part that really gets me. Like, it just feels like a Super Team kind of game,
This is as good a time as any to just give a big shout out, because we have some amazing composers here. They've done work with... They've done a lot of work in advertising, scoring movies and television. Even one of them had a live performance career during the 80s with the Miami Sound Machine. If you ask him,
cool.
Really nice, he'll play conga for you. And they're so talented, and we're so lucky to have them. It's fantastic to work with them, because basically I'll say, like, well, I'm looking for kind of a superhero vibe with a little bit of maybe a secret agent feel, and this one was Howard. Howard went away and came up with something and brought it back. I was like, well, that's perfect. I can't give you any notes because you did it exactly right.
Right, he just nailed it, like everything, and it's not just the score. Dan and I have talked about this before. It's the cues when certain symbols land, or certain features land, or certain things happen. It's the cues that the WMS brand does so well, because it gives the player what they need to know. It gives them the information that they need to know about what's coming next, and there's always a little bit of a suspense to it, which is also something that I think the WMS brand does really well, that other places, with all due respect, don't do as well, is the suspense spin, the suspense music, the suspense musical cues, things like that. Sorry. Yeah, I tend to girl out a little bit when it comes to music, yeah.
You may feel free.
Thank you.
No problem. Hashtag girl out. We're very proud of that work, and we put a lot of effort into it. Again, it's things that not everyone can appreciate, because when you play slot, honestly, and I do the same thing, you shut your conscious mind off a little bit. You're not thinking about it in the same way as you would be if you were, I don't know, reading the New York Times or something like that.
Right.
You are just letting it wash over you and kind of enjoying it as much as you can. And so, as a consequence, a lot of this stuff that we put into the game and really sweat over, you don't feel until you feel it, but you don't necessarily know it's there. So it's nice to know that someone's paying attention.
Yeah.
I will tell the fellas.
Hey, Jerry, I have a question for you. You obviously, I listed off a bunch of your games that you've worked on, including a whole series of Monopoly questions that I'm sure Brent will get to in a little bit. But what game over your history there at Scientific Games are you most proud of? Like, what game sticks out as being your most proud accomplishment?
Well, there's really two that always come to mind as my favorites, and the first is Ruby Slippers. Ruby Slippers, I like.
Brent might faint.
So Ruby Slippers is a very good game, and I say that with total humility.
It's an awesome game. It is the best game ever, and I think even SD Guy would agree with me that they got everything right when it comes to Ruby Slippers. Okay, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
So yeah, it was a lot of effort. But the other thing that it was the follow-up to the first Wizard of Oz game, which also killed it. It was absolutely crushing it, and so we sort of knew at the time that if it did well, it would be like, well, it's just another Wizard of Oz game. And if it did poorly, it'd be like, you couldn't even do a good Wizard of Oz game, you fool. So the fact that it came out, did well, and then stuck. It's become a real perennial on slot floors. You can find it. You can still find it just about everywhere, one or two. That's something I'm very proud of. That it's that kind of long-term connection that people have to it. I think part of it is Glinda, obviously. Glinda is such a great feature. And then also the way the bonuses trigger with the different pieces coming together, it makes you really want to get a bonus with all 4 characters, you know?
Yes. Yes.
I've never done it.
I have done it 3 times on the free spins, and every time it's been a fabulous win. You know, the one thing I want to tell you, Jeremy, as far as a game designer goes about Ruby Slippers, that I really applaud you for is the fact that you can't tell in Ruby Slippers, and believe me, I have tried. You cannot figure out what you're going to get based on where the bubbles are landing, you know, or you can't tell if a bubble's going to pop or not. You know, the bubble looks exactly the same when it goes up to the reel and doesn't pop as it does when it goes up to the reel and does pop, and that is a testament to you guys and the way you designed that game. Not all games are like that. A lot of games you can tell, you know, a savvy slot player can tell what's going on, and that really takes away some of the suspense, you know?
We have a word for that. We call it a tell. So does this bonus have a tell, or does that animation have a tell that you can see what's going to happen?
Right.
And there's an example that we used when I started from a game that maybe someone watching this will know of called Jackpot Limbo. And Jackpot Limbo was a 3-reel mechanical with a video screen on the top, and animals would limbo under a bar. This was probably 1999, maybe. Okay. I'm just guessing. Anyhow, if the animal was going to make it under, or if the animal was not going to make it under, there was a 1 pixel difference in between the 2 movies. There was 1 little pixel that was turned on or off in between those movies. And eventually people figured it out. They'd be like, I can tell. And then they'd be like, I can tell because of that right there. And then they'd catch it. So people, you know, when you play these games for long periods of time, you see everything. And I think in Ruby Slippers we did a really good job, as you say, of ironing those out, making sure that they're not there. And with a game with so much animation, we feel very good about that. The other game that I feel very good about is Money Burst. That's less of a normal game for me. Some of my best games have been the participation type games with tons of animation and movies and songs and everything. And the Money Burst series is just like a straight up good gambler experience. The first one had more animation and music in it, and then after that we kept coming out with them, and it stayed steady. And the idea was what if you compressed down the reels on the one side so that it was harder to get through them. You know, there's more blockers, there's less lucky, but once you do get through, there's all this goodness on the other side.
Right.
So that's the that was the idea with that, and I'm very satisfied with that. Again, that's a game that you still see out there. It also still does well in Australia. It's something that makes me happy.
What was the name of that Money Burst game? And I'm drawing a blank on it. I love the music on it. It was the space-themed one.
Oh.
I am so sorry to put you on the spot. But
Planet X?
Yeah, that might have been it.
X, I think.
Yeah, Return to Planet. That's it. Yes.
Yeah. It had some theremin in it.
Yes.
It was fantastic.
I enjoyed that music quite a bit.
I'm still chasing that game, you know, that whole series of games, Money Burst games, because, you know, the key, Jeremy, and I know you know this, is the key is to get the 20 spin bonus, but to lock wild sort of catty corner on the first 4 blocks.
Well, catty corner is ideal.
Yeah, because you get wins every time. Yeah.
It's it's a good game because it delivers, but also it leaves you knowing that there's more that you can still get out of it.
Right. There's more on the table, which I always love to have in a game. Yes.
Yeah. You know, when you finish it, when you have the best possible pay, it's like, well, I think I've done this game. I think I've gotten everything out of it I'm going to get. I don't see anything better than this happening. It's nice to have those games which have a little ceiling to them.
Yeah.
One of the games that I don't think is out yet, but you've worked on is Wizard of Oz not in Kansas anymore. Can you tell us a little bit about
that? Yes, I'm so excited for this game, Jeremy. It looks so good at the preview place. What's the name of it, Dan?
The preview place.
G2E.
Oh, G2E, yes.
G2E,
yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about what our players can expect with that one?
And when's it coming out?
That I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well.
I know there are dates, and I know that it's intended to come out within the next 3 to 6 months. But
cool.
I guess
we can wait. Yeah.
Again, I'm terrible with dates. But since we showed it at G2E, I can definitely talk about it. So one thing we've always been interested in is this idea that anyway thing could be very exciting with horizontal reels. If the reels spin horizontally, you can really clump things in different ways, and so you get a different set of patterns than you're used to seeing with the normal reels on an anyway game. So the base game plays normally, but then when you get this exciting feature, the twister feature, it's a tornado feature.
Right.
The tornado feature, the reels all suddenly start moving horizontal and they stack up, and your array starts at the bottom, and each time you get a twister symbol, it moves you on up. Sorry, a tornado symbol. It moves you on up one level, and you get another spin. If you make it all the way up to the top, you get a bonus. But the horizontal reels themselves, combined with the anyway, gives a real fun opportunity where you see how if that Dorothy reel, that horizontal reel with the Dorothy on it, just slid one more over, you could have gotten really something impressive. So then we've got a number of bonuses. This one has different enhancements that you can start each bonus with, similar to Ruby Slippers.
Yes.
And there are 3 different bonuses, and one of them is focused on progressives. There are 7 levels of progressives, and each of them can be awarded at the Wicked Witch or Glinda levels. And it's been a great game. It's a terrific team we've been working on with.
Really?
Some of the people are people who worked on the very first Wizard of Oz game, and some of the people are people who this is their first game with the company and have just blown us away with their painting, with their animation. It's a great-looking game. It's a big game, and I hope you will like it.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. You know, there's no, you know, even the best game in the world, you can go out and just get killed on.
Oh yeah, totally.
Maybe that's not your game.
Yeah.
But hopefully, some people want this to be their game.
Yeah.
Hopefully a lot of people.
I wanted to ask you just a couple of in the weeds questions about it, if you don't mind. So just to clear up a couple. Well, first of all, you said there are 3 bonus features. I only saw 2 at G2E. It was the progressive one, and then there was the free spins one.
Yep.
So was there something else that you guys didn't show us? And can you talk about that?
Else that you have not yet seen.
And you can. And you can or can't talk about it.
can I talk about this? I believe I can talk about it.
Okay, good.
It's a pick bonus.
Yay, we like pick 'em.
People love pick'ems. And in this one, you are moving up through different levels, and we have so much screen on this thing. There's a giant vertical screen, another giant vertical screen, that we can show you this entire pick field and everything that you could possibly get out of it. And the different enhancements trigger multipliers at these different levels and give free picks. So the goal is to get yourself up to the top, to the Glinda level, and then rock out, get as much as you can while you're up there.
Right.
It's a fun bonus, I think. It's obviously a different kind of experience than our progressive spin bonus and our free spin bonus.
Right.
The game's also evolved some since it was at G2E. I think when you see it in the field, you'll see that it's different in a few major ways. We do feedback with players. We have people play it and see what they say and what do they expect out of it. And a lot of times, if we can do something, if the player says, well, I expected I could have gotten this, then we'll say, that's a good thing. How can we give that to the player? How is that something we can give them? And so games will often evolve in that way.
I have a couple of questions I wrote down, but I just want to talk about a couple games. Like, can we just talk about Winning Bid 2? Let's just talk about it, because it's a really great game. I don't want to talk about some of these stilted questions that I had wrote down. I want to talk about an awesome game called Winning Bid 2, which you guys did so well. And the reason you did it so well is because the puns are so funny. There's all these little Easter eggs throughout that you can find. I mean, Dan and I did a whole series on all this different stuff that you can find in the game. And there's so much stuff hidden in the game, I still don't think I found everything. So
you may not have, or you may have.
Yes. I found something the other day, which Dan, make sure you put up, because we didn't talk about this in our last video.
I will, yes.
Put up this picture that it's the first time I've ever seen this in my life. I didn't think it was possible for the picture of the horse, and I know all you guys know what I'm talking about, the picture of the horse to be the super special item, because everything else turns gold, and I have never seen the horse turn gold or diamond. And I thought, oh, it's not possible, so I never pick him. But I walked by this lady who got the horse, and it was the super special item, and the horse turned into a picture of like a child's drawing. It was amazing, and it was worth like tons of money. Yes.
We had a hard time figuring out how you can turn a picture gold.
Right. You guys, what you came up with was great.
Yeah, so we thought modern art, make it a fancy piece of modern art.
Right. I didn't get to hear what the guy says, like when when it turns to a super special item and the auctioneer says, "Oh my God, it's a modern piece of art," or I'm sure he says something funny, but right. Some of the things that he says in there are stuff that I didn't think would get past, like when he says, "Hello, suckers," or I mean, guests, or he says that, and I'm like, I love it that you guys let that in. That's like, it's so real, and it feels like, oh my gosh, this is such a fun game to play.
When you're funny, you kind of have to be a little bit real. Sometimes it's at the risk of offending people. Hopefully, if you're offended from one of our games, you'll walk over and play another one of our games.
Yes.
We have some games that are just satirical and goofy, and we have other games that are more like hardcore gamblery. We have everything from Winning Bid 2 to Zeus. So we keep the range going.
Dan, do you want to talk about something else, or can I go on about Monopoly?
Keep going on. Monopoly
Okay.
it is.
Let's talk Monopoly.
Let's talk Monopoly. Well, first of all, just overall, between Wizard of Oz and Monopoly, they're licensed games. So, as a licensed game, how much is the company that licensed it to you hands-on, or are there certain features that they insist that you have? Are there certain stipulations? How I'm sure you have a great working relationship with them, but just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always exciting to work with a licensor because a lot of my job, as I see it, like we were talking about with Wizard of Oz, is to get it right. These things have an emotional appeal. They have fans. They have people who really like that experience. And while you can't just run the movie while you're playing a slot game, you want to make it meaningful in a slot world. So I'm trying to translate the experience of that license into the slot world. So with a new licensor, there's always a little bit of education about what a slot machine is.
Right.
But we're also very careful to make sure that what they say, they're the experts in their license, and we have to listen very closely to what they say about it, so that we get it right. It's no good if we just have a license that we've spent money on in the company, and then we just kind of just slap it on a game with no particular attention to what's going on, because then it might as well just be any game. Right. The license itself is fun. So we're lucky to have some great licensors who are willing to take the time with us and really educate us in what's important. Why do people have these emotional connections to their brands? What is at the core of Monopoly? What is at the core of Wizard of Oz? What's at the core of Willy Wonka? For Wonka, I was lucky enough to work with someone who works with the dolls directly, and that was really exciting. That was a passionate guy, and he had a lot of ideas, and it was very cool to work with him. So much of this stuff, it's like you wish you could get everything into every game.
Right.
And obviously, there's only so much we can do in one time. But I know that I've heard horror stories of people working with licensors from other companies, but I haven't seen them here.
Excellent, cool. Well, the one thing I do want to tell you about the licensed games, but just all of the games within the WMS brand of Scientific Games in particular, is the big win celebrations for Monopoly. I'm thinking about Planet Go in particular. Dan and I were playing this game, and I got mad at Dan because he cut off the big win celebration of his video, and I was like, "Why did you do that? That's a great big win celebration." Like, the big win celebrations on the WMS brand are done right. They're done appropriate, and they're done with the right amount of pizzazz, where you know that this is a big win. It's not just the machine telling me it's a big win. It really is a big win.
Yeah, part of it is just setting that number right, so you don't play it every time you win 3 times bet.
Yeah, thank God. Yes.
It's just not that exciting.
One of our big
but part of it is trying to remember, again, there's a human being at the other end of this who's playing. They probably were battling with this machine for a while, and now they finally turned it around and they're getting something out of it. You want to deliver. You want to really celebrate what happened to that player. And make it fun and make.
You guys do a great job with that. So I applaud you for that. Yay!
Thank you again. This is great.
I'm serious. I'm not just. People know this. They watch my channel, and Dan feels the same way. I know he does. The WMS brand within Scientific Games is my favorite. Everything about it. I'm hard pressed to find a game that I say, I didn't really like that game. I mean, by and large, the things that you guys do, you do well, and even the things that other companies don't do well, you guys really excel at. So I love talking with you right now.
Thank you. I mean, we have our hits and we have our misses, just like any other company.
Yeah.
But I will say we go hard at pretty much every game. When we miss on purpose. We don't miss because we slacked off.
Right. Dan?
Yeah. So our players are anyone on Facebook. We are always inquiring about how they can influence future designs of games. Talk a little bit about how players influence future concepts or just designs for future games.
Well, all kinds of different ways. The first and clearest way we get a message is, are people playing this game? If it's all very well and good to say we love this game, but if no one is actually playing it, then no one will buy it, and it's gone. So when people play the game, that's the clearest one. Now, beyond that, we're all irregular readers of the slot boards here. We watch the YouTube channels. We read the Facebook comments. We're not active on them ourselves, just because it can take a lot of time once you start.
Oh yes. Yeah, once you start responding, then they want another answer. Why don't you answer my question? Yeah,
exactly.
I get it. Yeah.
Exactly. And we do like to, every once in a while go home and see our families. Being able to read directly what people are responding to, and it's not always. Sometimes I love this game. A lot of times we'll be reading Slot Fanatics or something like that, and seeing how many people say, "I hate this game. I hate this game. I hate this game." Yeah. And we're like, a lot of people hate this game. A lot of people are playing this game.
Right.
So that emotional reaction that it's drawing out of people, love it or hate it, that's always something we pay attention to. If we see something that makes a lot of sense to us as an idea, we will jump on that and try to get it to market.
Well, we have a great idea.
Yeah. We do. We do? We do.
I do.
All right.
Bring back Super Team. In some form or another, bring it back. Even if it's
I would like to.
Even if it's Game Field.
Well, they did it with Ruby Slippers too, so it's possible. Anything's possible.
It is absolutely possible. I mean, the main reason it hasn't shown up online is it was such a big game. There's so many pieces to it.
Right.
But one of these days, hopefully, they'll put the effort into it. Because I think online it's perfect. You know, it's a Facebook game. You're sort of being given more and more things and unlocking stuff.
Yeah.
That seems like a really good way to do it. And that people would really enjoy it as well. Yeah.
I will say that Dan and I are like the best people to talk to about slots because we've got money, we're not trying to make money, and we've got lots of ideas. So, and we love slots.
Perfect.
We just got money to burn. We're just gonna go and play some slots. We're going to Vegas, just so you know. We're going to Vegas in the near future.
Excellent.
And we are going to do tons of live play, play all the new games, from Scientific Games. We're going to have a gay old time, seriously.
Yes,
you've watched our show. You said you've watched our show, so you know that I am constantly searching for those 4 games that you did, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. The Glinda the Good Witch, Wicked Riches, Follow the Yellow Brick Road, and Over the Rainbow, which I don't think I ever got a chance to play, but I've seen videos of it online. I love the fact in Over the Rainbow that if you trigger the bonus, you get a guaranteed Glinda at least once. I like that fact, and I think it's something you can use in future games. It's just a thought, I'm just telling you.
Well, I will tell you that not in Kansas anymore. If you trigger with the Glinda feature, you are guaranteed at least one Glinda.
Excellent. We like Glinda.
Yes, we do.
She's our girl.
Glinda.
Hey, Brent. Any more questions for Jeremy before we let him go?
I think I've gayed out about everything I can. Winning Bid 2, Super Team, the Wizard of Oz stuff, not in Kansas anymore, Planet Go. I mean, just everything. It's amazing to me that all of the games that I love, not just that I like, that are on my channel, but the games that you see over and over again on my channel in particular are the games that this man has had a hand in. So congratulations, Jeremy. You really have done a great job.
Thank you very much. I mean, we really appreciate, and I really appreciate that when you guys take the time to give feedback on the games. A lot of people just play them and enjoy them and then walk away, and that's great. We're glad when anybody plays the game.
Right.
But people who have actually taken the time to appreciate what else is going on, that's something special.
Well, Jeremy, you've been amazing to have on. We were so pumped that you agreed to come on our show, and I can't thank you enough for coming on. So,
thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, well, hopefully we get a chance to meet you someday.
Yes, and we'll hope to talk to you again someday soon, Jeremy. Maybe next year sometime.
Yes, indeed. And I want to hear the hard-hitting interview you do with the designers of games you don't like.
Yes.
We'll do that.
We're saving SD Guy for that. He's gonna.
Yes.
Oh my God. Heard him.
Right. Yeah, right. All right.
Let him have it.
Jeremy, thank you so much.
Thank you.